Dr. William Lee, a Harvard-trained vascular physician, founder of the Angiogenesis Foundation, and a globally recognized expert in circulatory health, is raising a serious red flag. Most people think of vitamins as always helpful, but certain nutrients, when taken out of context or in excess, can actually disrupt circulation, especially at night, when your body is trying to repair blood vessels. According to Dr. Lee, blood flow to the legs depends not only on open arteries, but on a constant interplay of hormones, endothelial signals, and metabolic rhythms. And for older adults, this system becomes fragile, more reactive to what you eat, when you eat it, and how your body processes it during rest. Just like the wrong foods can trigger inflammation, the wrong forms or combinations of vitamins can impair nitric oxide production, thicken blood, or even constrict capillaries. He explains. More surprising, says Dr. Lee, is that these effects often go unnoticed. You may feel cold feet, tingling, heaviness, or simply fatigue in your calves the next morning, and never realize the trigger was something you swallowed the night before. Drawing from decades of vascular research, Dr. Lee identifies 5 common vitamin-related compounds found in supplements or fortified foods that can interfere with nighttime leg circulation. For older adults with sluggish blood flow, muscle fatigue, or mild neuropathy, avoiding these compounds may be just as important as what you include. The misunderstood vitamin that silences your legs while you sleep. Niacin, also known as vitamin B3, is widely recognized for its cholesterol-lowering benefits and support of energy metabolism. It's often found in multivitamins, heart health supplements, and even fortified breakfast cereals. But when taken in high doses, especially in the evening, niacin can trigger a sequence of vascular events that may quietly limit blood flow to your legs while you sleep. Niacin's signature effect is vasodilation. It relaxes the muscles around blood vessels, allowing them to widen. This process is what causes the well-known niacin flush, a sudden warmth and redness across the face, chest, or arms. In that moment, tiny vessels at the skin's surface open wide to welcome more blood. But what follows is more complex and less visible. After this initial expansion, the body often compensates by tightening other vessels to stabilize pressure. In many older adults, especially those with stiff arteries or reduced nitric oxide, this rebound constriction can persist through the night. And it doesn't happen evenly. While some areas remain open, vessels feeding the lower legs may constrict, limiting oxygen delivery just when the muscles are trying to recover. Niacin also triggers the release of histamine, a compound that alters blood vessel tone and permeability. This adds to the unpredictability. Instead of steady, rhythmic flow, you get a stop-start pattern, like a faucet sputtering instead of pouring. In delicate peripheral capillaries, especially in aging legs, this irregular rhythm can leave tissues undernourished and slightly hypoxic by morning. At a deeper level, niacin helps create NAD+, a molecule essential for energy production inside each cell. That's usually helpful, but in high doses, niacin can briefly disrupt other pathways, affecting how the body handles folate and homocysteine. When homocysteine rises, nitric oxide, the body's natural vasodilator, can fall, narrowing vessels just when they should be expanding. Older adults process nutrients differently. The liver becomes slower. The vessel walls become less responsive. A young person may flush and reset quickly. But in someone over 60, a single evening dose of high-strength niacin can shift vascular balance for hours, leading to cold feet, a sense of heaviness, or stiffness in the calves upon waking. These signs often go unnoticed or misattributed to aging, dehydration, or poor circulation. Few people trace them back to a vitamin that's meant to support heart health. That's what makes the effect so quiet and so often overlooked. Niacin from food sources rarely poses a problem, but when consumed as extended-release supplements, heart blends, or meal replacement drinks, especially close to bedtime, niacin can nudge the vascular system out of rhythm. Blood vessels don't need drama at night, they need consistency. Circulation follows a rhythm. At night, blood vessels are meant to relax gently, guided by nitric oxide and rest hormones, so oxygen can reach the tissues that worked all day. When a substance like niacin barges in, first flinging vessels open, then snapping others shut, it disrupts the conversation between the heart and the limbs. For older adults with diabetes, neuropathy, or cold extremities, avoiding high-dose niacin in the evening may support smoother overnight flow to the legs. This doesn't mean niacin is harmful. It means timing and delivery matter. Not all support is helpful at all times. Sometimes, even the best-intentioned nutrients can whisper the wrong message to an aging body. In niacin's case, what begins as a generous opening may end with the legs left waiting silent, still, and underfed long after the rest of the body has moved on. After understanding how niacin plays tug-of-war with your vessels, let's look at another nutrient that silently tightens them. The coagulation key that quietly narrows the path. Vitamin K is often described as the blood-clotting vitamin, a label that sounds helpful, even protective. Found in leafy greens, K1, and fermented foods, K2, it plays a critical role in making sure blood can clot when needed. But what happens when clotting is encouraged too much, or at the wrong time, in the wrong vessels? In older adults, especially those already dealing with sluggish circulation or mild arterial stiffness, excess vitamin K, particularly from supplements, can begin to tip the balance, not toward emergency-level clotting, but toward a quiet tightening of the bloodstream's flexibility. Like a road system where more intersections begin closing, side routes narrow, and detours appear not enough to block traffic, but enough to slow the flow. Vitamin K works by activating proteins that help bind calcium to blood-clotting factors. This is essential during injury, but in the absence of bleeding, when the body is meant to focus on repair and perfusion, these signals can become noise. If calcium is pulled too quickly into clotting pathways, especially in smaller vessels of the lower limbs, it may encourage subtle thickening of blood in areas that most need open passage. This is even more relevant at night. During rest, the vascular system enters a state of open mode, nitric oxide rises, peripheral vessels soften, and blood is meant to flow slowly and widely to the feet, calves, and small capillaries. But when vitamin K activity is high, especially from a strong evening supplement, the body may misinterpret this resting state as a signal to seal off and guard, rather than open and restore. It doesn't cause sharp symptoms. There's no sudden blockage. Instead, the person wakes with cool feet, slight ankle tightness, or a numbing tension in the calves, like blood didn't quite make the trip overnight. The freeway was open, but the side streets stayed closed. There's another layer. Vitamin K interacts closely with vitamin D and calcium, both of which also influence vascular tone. When the trio is balanced, they can protect vessels. But when K is oversupplied relative to magnesium or omega-3 fats, which help maintain vessel flexibility, the body may overcorrect toward solidity. It's like reinforcing every bridge in a city without checking whether traffic still moves. Many bone support or heart health supplements now include vitamin K2, often in high doses. These formulas are popular and useful in some contexts, but timing matters. When taken before bed, in a system that's winding down and shifting blood to the periphery, excess K activity may gently oppose the very circulation that the legs rely on for nighttime repair. This doesn't mean vitamin K is harmful. On the contrary, it's essential. But just as we wouldn't want all our house lights to stay on during sleep, we don't want clotting pathways nudging their way into nighttime circulation. For seniors with varicose veins, swelling, or cool extremities, it may be wise to shift vitamin K intake to earlier in the day, allowing the body to use it during waking hours, when micro-injuries or physical strain are more likely. At night, the focus is different restoration, not reinforcement. What's most important isn't the nutrient itself, but its dialogue with the body's rhythm. When vitamin K speaks at the right time, it keeps the system in balance. But when it whispers tighten up during the hours the body wants to relax, even a helpful vitamin can quietly narrow the path. After understanding how niacin plays tug-of-war with your vessels, let's look at another nutrient that silently tightens them. Now that we've explored clotting, we turn to a vitamin that affects blood flow through a quieter metabolic detour. When the wrong form sends the right message too late. Folic acid is often seen as a helpful nutrient, especially for heart and brain health. It's added to cereals, breads, multivitamins, and meal replacement drinks. On labels, it sounds familiar and supportive. But for many older adults, the version they're getting synthetic folic acid may not behave the way nature intended. And when taken at the wrong time or in excess, it may gently push the body in a direction that slows blood flow rather than supports it. The confusion starts with form. The body doesn't use folic acid directly. Instead, it must first convert it step by step into its active version, called methylfolate. This is the form cells need to help process homocysteine, a byproduct of protein metabolism. When this conversion works well, homocysteine is kept in check. But when it doesn't, whether due to age, genetics, or liver sluggishness, homocysteine levels rise. Why does that matter for your legs? Because homocysteine is like static on the line between your blood vessels and the signals that tell them to relax. When homocysteine rises, nitric oxide, a key molecule for opening up blood flow, is suppressed. This means your vessels may stay tighter, especially in smaller, more distant areas like your calves or feet. You don't feel it as a blockage. You feel it as tight ankles, cold toes, or a restless heaviness in the lower legs that never quite resolves overnight. This problem is subtle. No alarms, no sharp pain, just a sense that your legs aren't being refreshed the way they should be while you sleep. In older adults, the enzyme needed to convert synthetic folic acid into methylfolate slows down. This is especially true for people with common genetic variations in folate metabolism, something most never know they have. So instead of helping, the unused folic acid can begin to accumulate quietly, building up in the bloodstream like mail that was delivered but never opened. It circulates, looking useful, but not being used. Meanwhile, homocysteine quietly builds, and nitric oxide, a compound that should rise at night to help open blood vessels and support microcirculation, struggles to appear. As a result, legs receive less oxygen, and the tissues don't fully recover. Synthetic folic acid is not harmful in itself, but the timing and the form both matter. When taken late in the day, especially in fortified snacks, bars, or evening health drinks, it arrives at a time when the body is shifting gears into restoration, not processing. It's like trying to deliver construction materials to a work site after everyone's gone home. The body doesn't respond. The job doesn't get done, and tomorrow's repairs get pushed even further away. In contrast, methylfolate, the active form, doesn't require conversion. It enters the system ready to work, supporting nitric oxide, balancing homocysteine, and gently protecting the inner lining of the blood vessels. But it's less common in standard multivitamins and far more expensive to produce, which is why most products still rely on synthetic folic acid. So what can you do? Check your supplements. If you're over 60 and using a multivitamin or fortified food in the evening, look for folic acid on the label and consider shifting that intake to the morning, when the liver is more active and your system is prepared to process nutrients. Better yet, Talk to a practitioner about whether methylfolate might be a better match for your body's current rhythm. Let your nutrients match your biology, not just your routine. Sometimes, it's not the dose that makes the difference, but whether the nutrient arrives in a form your body still recognizes, and, at a time, it can still act. Folic acid, though well-meaning, can become the letter that never gets opened, and, without that message, your vessels stay silent, and the legs, once again, are left waiting. When messages don't reach your vessels, confusion grows. But what if the bloodstream itself becomes heavier than it should? The heavy metal that outstays its welcome. Iron is a vital mineral. It helps carry oxygen through the bloodstream, supports energy production, and keeps your immune system strong. In the right amount, it's essential, like the steel in a bridge, quiet, solid, invisible, but necessary. But in many multivitamins, especially those designed for complete daily support, iron is added automatically, without asking whether the body still needs it. And for many older adults, that quiet excess may come at a cost. When iron is plentiful, the body stores it carefully. But unlike other nutrients, the body has no built-in way to excrete extra iron. Once it's in, it tends to stay. Over time, small surpluses can build. And, in the presence of even mild inflammation, something common with aging iron can behave less like a helper and more like a spark. Here's why it matters for your legs. Iron, when circulating freely, can promote oxidative stress, a kind of chemical friction in the bloodstream. This irritates the inner lining of blood vessels, particularly the small, delicate ones in your lower legs and feet. These vessels are supposed to expand gently at night, helping oxygen reach tired muscle fibers. But when oxidative stress is high, blood vessels become tense, less responsive, and slightly narrowed. Think of it like a garden hose with fine sediment inside, not fully blocked, but no longer smooth. This effect is subtle. There's no clog, no emergency, just a reduction in flow, a sense that the feet are colder, heavier, that waking up feels like pushing through wet sand, that the legs haven't fully recovered from yesterday's steps. For postmenopausal women and older men, the need for supplemental iron often drops significantly. Yet many still take multivitamins containing 18 mg or more of elemental iron, the same amount recommended for younger women with ongoing losses. The result, more iron than the body can use, especially if meals are also iron-fortified. Nighttime makes this worse. At rest, the body is supposed to shift toward recovery, lower blood pressure, softened vessels, and quiet inflammation control. But when iron is absorbed in the evening from a multivitamin, a fortified shake, or a nighttime snack, it may fuel the very oxidative stress the body is trying to reduce. And because iron affects not just vessels, but also blood thickness, even a small bump can influence microcirculation. The blood may flow, but slightly slower, slightly thicker, as if the delivery trucks are still running but now stuck behind red lights. It's not dramatic, but for tissues already starved of ideal oxygen, it's enough to make a difference. You might not notice it on day one, but over weeks and months, the pattern grows: familiar heavy legs, cold toes, the feeling that even rest doesn't restore what was lost during the day. So what should you do? First, check your labels. If your multivitamin contains iron, and you're not anemic, or haven't been told by a doctor you need it, you may not need it every day, and certainly not at night. Ask whether a non-iron formula might suit you better. Second, look at timing. Iron is best absorbed with food, during the day. Taking it at night not only interferes with rest, but also overlaps with the body's anti-inflammatory cycle, working at cross purposes. Iron isn't harmful by nature. It's essential. But like fire in a fireplace, it must be contained, timed, and suited to the room it's in. When delivered thoughtfully, it fuels. When unneeded, It simmers, and sometimes it scorches the quiet parts first. For older adults focused on leg strength, better sleep, and smooth circulation, reconsidering your evening iron intake may help restore clarity to the body's overnight repair rhythm. Not everything that's labeled complete is necessarily appropriate for every body, at every age, at every hour. Once we've cleared the weight from the blood, we now face a different force: timing, light, calcium, and mistaken signals. The sunshine hormone that doesn't always belong at night. Vitamin D is often called the sunshine vitamin, but in reality, it's closer to a hormone. It plays a role in immunity, bone strength, and even emotional health. For many older adults, especially those indoors more often, supplementation becomes part of daily life. But how and when it's taken can make a quiet difference, especially for how blood moves through the legs while you sleep. Vitamin D helps regulate calcium, not just in the bones, but throughout the bloodstream. When used wisely, it ensures calcium goes where it belongs: into bones, teeth, and essential processes. But when large doses are taken late in the day, especially without magnesium or vitamin K2 to guide it, calcium can end up lingering in the wrong places. Here's the issue. Vitamin D indirectly influences vascular tone, meaning how tight or relaxed your blood vessels are. When vitamin D levels spike suddenly, like after a strong supplement at night, it may increase calcium absorption faster than your body can manage. Without enough cofactors, calcium in the blood may temporarily rise. And when that happens, small arteries and capillaries can respond by tightening. In the daytime, when you're upright and moving, this isn't always noticeable. But at night, when blood flow is meant to spread outward and downward to the feet, the calves, the tissues that worked all day, any increase in vessel tension becomes more noticeable. It shows up as cold feet, cramps, or that odd sense of heaviness, like your legs were invited to rest, but never quite made it to the party. Calcium itself is not the villain, nor is vitamin D, but the choreography between them matters. Imagine trying to dim the lights in a room, but someone suddenly opens all the windows. The balance of pressure, light, and calm is lost. Similarly, when high-dose vitamin D is taken too late, the body's normal nighttime rhythm, meant to relax, expand, and restore, can be thrown off. Older adults often take 2,000 to 5,000 IU daily, sometimes more. This can be appropriate under supervision, but many take it right before bed, alongside evening supplements or warm drinks, thinking it supports overnight healing. In truth, vitamin D is best taken in the morning or midday, when it aligns with the body's natural exposure to sunlight. Taking it at night may send the wrong signal to your blood vessels, asking them to become alert and contract, instead of soften and open. There's another subtle effect. Vitamin D can temporarily reduce melatonin production, especially in high doses. Melatonin helps more than sleep. It also helps regulate vascular relaxation and antioxidant defenses during rest. So, by stimulating alert signals and calcium movement, late-night vitamin D can unintentionally make the legs feel more awake than they should be when they most need to restore. This doesn't mean vitamin D is bad. It's one of the most studied, safest, and important nutrients for long-term health. But like light itself, it belongs in the day, not the dark. And the legs, especially those with fragile capillaries, need darkness to do their repair work well. So what's the takeaway? If you take vitamin D, keep taking it, but consider moving it to breakfast or lunch. Pair it with magnesium and healthy fats like olive oil or nuts to support absorption and balance. Don't stop the habit. Just shift its place in the rhythm. Sometimes, the nutrient itself isn't the problem. It's when it arrives. Vitamin D, when taken at night, may whisper to the blood, "Wake up," at a time when everything else is trying to wind down. For legs that need support, blood that needs to flow, and a body that deserves quiet repair, even sunshine should respect the setting sun. Most people never think twice about their vitamins. They sit in the same drawer, swallowed with the same water, at the same time of day. And yet, for older adults struggling with leg cramps, heavy calves, or cold feet at night, the story might begin not in their blood vessels, but in the labels they never read. These 5 common vitamins: niacin, vitamin K, folic acid, iron, and high-dose vitamin D aren't harmful on their own. But when taken in the wrong form, in the wrong amount, or at the wrong hour, they can whisper the wrong signals to a body that's already trying to compensate for aging. Over time, what looks like just aging is often a quiet accumulation of friction, maturing blood vessels that respond more slowly, metabolic pathways that need more clarity, and nutrients that no longer behave exactly as they did at 30. The result isn't dramatic. It shows up gently in cold toes that take too long to warm, a morning step that feels stiff, or a nighttime cramp that returns with no warning. These aren't coincidences. They're messages your legs, asking for something quieter, more in tune. The core mistake is timing. Many vitamins are taken by habit, not by logic. But the vascular system has its own rhythm. At night, blood flow is meant to spread, restore, and gently repair. When a vitamin disrupts that by tightening vessels, altering nitric oxide, or thickening the blood just slightly, it doesn't cause disease. It causes delay. It steals the silence your legs need to recover. You don't need to stop supporting your health. You just need to time it better. Shift iron and vitamin D to the morning. Look for methylated B vitamins. Take vitamin K earlier in the day, not with your evening meal. Read the label. Rethink the routine. The smallest change in timing may unlock the greatest change in how your legs feel, especially at night, when everything else rests. The good news is, your circulation is not fixed. It's dynamic, flexible, capable of responding. If the nutrients that once disrupted it are given in new rhythm, the body may resume its own. You may not need stronger medicine. You may just need a quieter signal, a message the blood understands. So tonight, instead of adding one more pill to your evening, consider removing one. Let your legs rest. Let your vessel soften. And let the quiet do what it's always been designed to do: heal.